They say success is the best revenge, but sometimes silence hits harder. Picture this. A man stands in the pouring rain, his cheap suit soaked through, clutching his daughter's small brown hand while his ex-wife laughs at him from the window of a brand new Porsche. She calls him a failure. She tells him he's worthless. He says nothing. He just checks his watch, and then the ground shakes. Not from thunder, but from the engine of a customized bulletproof Rolls-Royce sweeping around the corner. When the window rolls down, it isn't a tinted driver, it's the woman who owns the city. And she's not there for business. She's there for him. This is the story of Malik Carter, the black single dad they mocked until the moment the world stopped turning. The transmission of the 2008 Ford F-150 groaned like a dying animal, a metallic grind that vibrated all the way up through the steering wheel and into Malik Carter's exhausted hands. "Daddy, is the truck sick again?" Malik glanced in the rearview mirror. Nia, his 6-year-old daughter, was clutching her backpack, her warm brown eyes wide with the kind of innocent worry no child should have to carry. Her tight curls were pulled into 2 uneven puffs, held together with dollar store hair ties. "She's just clearing her throat a little bit," Malik lied, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Old Bessie is tough, like us." He coaxed the truck into gear, wincing as the engine sputtered before finally catching. It was 7:15 a.m. on a Tuesday in late October, and the Chicago sky was a bruised shade of purple-gray, threatening a downpour that Malik's leaky windshield seals weren't prepared for. He adjusted his tie in the mirror. It was a decent tie, silk, a remnant from his old life, but it was knotted over a shirt that had been washed too many times, the collar starting to fray ever so slightly at the edges. He was 32, but in the harsh morning light, he looked 40. There were dark circles carved under his eyes, souvenirs from working double shifts, landscaping by day, freelance architectural drafting by night. His deep brown skin couldn't hide the fatigue etched around his eyes. And today was important. It was the future founder's career fair at Nia's private school, St. Jude's Academy. It was the only remnant of their old life Malik had fought to keep. When his construction firm, Carter Builds, had collapsed 2 years ago under the weight of a supplier scam and a market crash, he had lost the house in Highland Park. He had lost the Audi. He had lost his savings. And most painfully, he had lost Vanessa. "I can't live like this, Malik," she had said, standing in the hallway of their emptying house, holding a Louis Vuitton bag he had bought her for their anniversary. "I didn't sign up for coupons and overdue notices. I have a standard of living to maintain." She had left him for Derek Sterling. No relation to the famous Sterling fortune, though Derek liked to pretend there was. Derek was a mid-level hedge fund manager with a loud mouth, a leased Ferrari, and a trust fund he hadn't earned. "We're here, Daddy," Nia whispered, pulling Malik from his dark thoughts. They had arrived at the school. The drop-off line was a parade of German engineering, G-Wagons, Range Rovers, and Teslas. Malik's rusted Ford with its faded Carter landscaping decal on the side stuck out like a sore thumb. He could feel the eyes of other parents burning into the side of his truck, the lone black single dad in a beat-up work truck in a sea of polished wealth. He pulled up to the curb. The brakes squealed, a high-pitched shriek that made a woman in a beige trench coat wince and pull her poodle closer. "Okay, little bit," Malik said, turning off the engine to save gas. "You got your project?" "Yes, the bridge," Nia beamed, holding up a popsicle stick structure they had stayed up until 2 a.m. building. It was intricate, a suspension bridge design that hinted at Malik's former brilliance as an architect. "It's perfect. Go knock 'em dead." He hopped out to open her door, ignoring the drizzle starting to spot his jacket. He needed to walk her in, help set up the display, and stand there for an hour representing fathers in construction. As he lifted Nia out of the truck, a shadow fell over them. A sleek silver Porsche Panamera glided silently into the spot ahead of them, cutting off a minivan. Malik's stomach dropped. He knew that license plate. Var Queen. The driver's door opened and Derek stepped out. He was wearing a suit that cost more than Malik's truck. Italian wool, perfectly tailored, with a Patek Philippe watch flashing on his wrist. He adjusted his sunglasses despite the lack of sun. Then the passenger door opened. Vanessa stepped out. She looked stunning in that sharp, terrifying way she always did. Her honey brown hair was styled in sleek waves that spilled over her shoulders, her heels clicking sharply on the pavement. She wore a white coat that defied the muddy reality of the city. She spotted Malik immediately, her lip curling, not in anger but in something worse, pity mixed with disgust. "Malik," she said, her voice smooth and cold. "I didn't think you'd actually show up." "It's Nia's career day, Vanessa," Malik said, keeping his voice steady as he held Nia's hand tighter. "I wouldn't miss it." Derek walked around the car, laughing as he tapped the hood of Malik's truck. "Bold move, buddy, bringing this to St. Jude E.R.S. You trying to lower the property value of the whole neighborhood?" "Hi, Mommy," Nia said quietly. Vanessa glanced down at her daughter, then back at the truck. "Nia, sweetheart, don't touch the door handle. It's probably rusty. Come here." She didn't hug the child. She just motioned for Nia to stand by the Porsche. "I'm taking her in," Malik said, stepping forward. "We built a project together." "A project?" Vanessa laughed, a short, sharp sound. "With what supplies, Malik? Dumpster scraps? Derek and I bought her a robotics kit. That's what she'll be presenting." Malik felt the heat rise up his neck. "We built a bridge. She worked hard on it." "Nobody cares about bridges made of trash," Derek sneered, stepping into Malik's personal space. Derek was shorter than Malik, but he carried himself with the arrogance of a man who had never been punched in the face. "Why don't you do everyone a favor and go mow a lawn? Let the real providers handle the future." The rain began to fall harder, drumming against the roof of the rusted Ford. The drop-off line had stalled and parents were beginning to watch. It was a spectacle, the failed black contractor facing off against the wealthy power couple. Malik looked at Nia. She was looking back and forth between her parents, her lower lip trembling. That was the only reason his fist didn't connect with Derek's jaw right then and there. "I'm walking my daughter in," Malik repeated, his voice dropping an octave. "Move, Derek!" "Or what?" Derek challenged, smirking. "You'll hit me, and then what? You can't afford the bail, Carter. You can barely afford the gas to leave this parking lot." "Stop it," Nia whimpered. Vanessa sighed, checking her phone. "God, this is embarrassing. Malik, look at you. Your suit is wet. Your shoes are scuffed. You smell like mulch. You're a distraction. The headmaster already told me they're reviewing your tuition assistance. Scenes like this don't help your case." That hit Malik like a physical blow. Tuition assistance. He had swallowed every ounce of pride to apply for it so Nia wouldn't have to leave her friends. "I pay my share," Malik gritted out. "You pay pennies," she hissed, stepping closer. Her perfume, Chanel No. 5, the scent he used to buy for her, invaded his senses. Derek pays for her dance classes. Derek pays for her clothes. You're just a weekend anchor dragging her down. Do you know what her friends say? They ask why her daddy drives a garbage truck. "It's a work truck," Malik said, his voice cracking slightly. "It's a metaphor, Malik," Derek laughed. "For your life, broken down, rusty, obsolete." Suddenly, the PA system outside the school chimed. "Parents and students, please proceed to the grand hall. The fair begins in 10 minutes. "Give me the girl," Vanessa commanded, reaching for Nia's hand. "We're going inside. You can wait here, or better yet, leave. I don't want you embarrassing us inside." "No," Nia said, pulling back. She gripped Malik's wet jacket. "I want Daddy. We built the bridge." Vanessa's face hardened. She hated losing control. She crouched down, ignoring the wet pavement for a second. "Nia, listen to me. Mommy and Derek have a surprise inside. A real presentation. Daddy has to go to work. He has to go dig holes. You understand, don't you?" Malik felt a rage so pure it nearly blinded him. He looked at Vanessa, really looked at her, and realized he didn't love her anymore. He didn't even hate her. He just felt a profound sorrow that he had ever thought she was his partner. "I am coming in," Malik said, finality in his tone. "And if you try to stop me, I'll cause a scene that will make the PTA gossip about you for a decade." Vanessa stood up, her eyes narrowing. She knew Malik. She knew he was usually passive, a peacemaker. But she saw something in his eyes today that made her hesitate. A cold, hard steel. "Fine," she spat, "but walk 10 feet behind us and don't speak to anyone we know. Derek is trying to close a deal with the Harrison family today, and I won't have you ruining it." They turned and walked toward the grand double doors of the academy, Nia looking back over her shoulder at Malik with sad eyes. Malik took a breath. wiping rain from his forehead. He reached into the truck bed, grabbed the large covered display of the bridge, and tucked it under his jacket to protect it from the rain. As a black man walking into a marble hallway full of old money and old assumptions, he straightened his shoulders a little higher than usual. He walked toward the entrance, head held high, though he felt small inside. The grand hall was warm and smelled of expensive coffee and floor wax. The room was buzzing. Booths were set up everywhere: robotics, coding, international finance for kids. The wealth in the room was staggering. Malik found Naya's assigned table. It was in the back corner near the fire exit. Of course. He set up the bridge. It really was beautiful. A cantilever design made of balsa wood and reinforced popsicle sticks, demonstrating load distribution. It was engineering in its purest form. Derek and Vanessa were 3 tables away, loudly greeting the other parents, laughing, holding court. They had set up a massive flat-screen TV on a table. Where did they even get that? Playing a loop of stock market graphs for Nia's presentation. Malik stood by his daughter, smoothing her hair. "Hey, don't worry about them. Look at this bridge. It's strong." "It's small," Nia whispered, looking at the robot next to them. "Great things start small," Malik said. Just then, the double doors at the far end of the hall flew open. Usually when doors open, people glance and look away. Not this time. The room went silent. The air pressure seemed to change. 4 men in dark suits walked in first. They weren't school security. They were private protection. They wore earpieces and scanned the room with professional paranoia. Behind them walked a woman. She was tall, wearing a charcoal gray power suit that looked sharp enough to cut glass. Her dark hair was pulled back in a severe, elegant bun. She wore no jewelry except for a simple platinum band on her thumb. She didn't walk, she glided. She radiated an aura of absolute, terrifying power. It was Serafina Sterling. The room gasped. Serafina Sterling was the CEO of Sterling Industries, a global conglomerate involved in everything from aerospace to sustainable energy. She was on the cover of Forbes last month. She was worth billions. She was royalty in the business world. Derek's jaw dropped. He nudged Vanessa. "Oh my God, that's her. That's Serafina Sterling. If I can just get 5 minutes with her, baby, we're made." "Fix your tie," Vanessa hissed, smoothing her dress. "She's coming this way." The crowd parted like the Red Sea. Everyone wanted to be seen by her, but no one dared to block her path. She walked with a singular purpose, her eyes scanning the room, ignoring the smiles and waves from the desperate social climbers. Derek stepped out, extending a hand as she approached. "Miss Sterling, what an honor. I'm Derek Vance. I manage." Serafina didn't even blink. She didn't slow down. She walked right past him as if he were a piece of furniture. Derek was left with his hand extended, grasping at empty air. Vanessa tried next. "Miss Sterling, our daughter is just here." Serafina walked past her too. She continued to the back of the room, toward the fire exit, toward the worst table in the hall. Malik looked up. He hadn't seen the commotion. He was busy fixing a strut on the bridge. He sensed the silence and turned around. He froze. Serafina stopped 3 feet away from him. The bodyguards took positions around them, creating a perimeter that pushed the gawking crowd back. For a moment, nobody breathed. The billionaire and the broke black landscaper locked eyes. Vanessa and Derek watched, confused. Was she going to kick him out? Was he in trouble? Serafina's stoic iron mask cracked. A genuine warm smile, one the press had never seen, broke across her face. "Hello, Malik," she said, her voice rich and velvet. Malik swallowed hard, his hands trembling slightly as he rested them on Nia's shoulders. "Hello, Sarah." The room erupted in whispers. He called her Sarah. Serafina looked him up and down, taking in the frayed collar, the wet jacket, the exhaustion in his eyes. Her expression softened into something pained. Then she looked at the little girl. "And this," Serafina said, crouching down in her $1,000 trousers to be eye level with the child, "must be the famous Nia." Naya blinked. "Hi, I like your bridge," Serafina said, ignoring the robotics kit Derek had bought. She reached out and touched the balsa wood. "Your dad is the best builder I've ever known. Did he tell you that?" Nia shook her head. "Mommy says he just digs holes." Serafina stood up slowly. The warmth vanished from her eyes. replaced by a glacial coldness as she looked over Malik's shoulder at Vanessa and Derek, who were standing there pale and trembling. "Digs holes," Serafina repeated, loud enough for the whole room to hear. She turned back to Malik. "I've been looking for you for 6 months, Malik. My private investigators finally tracked your truck to this zip code this morning." "I've been lying low," Malik said quietly. "I know," she said. She stepped closer, invading his personal space in a way that felt intimate. She reached out and straightened his cheap, crooked tie. "But playtime is over. The architectural drawings you sent me 3 years ago, the Skyline project, we got the permits. Dubai, London, New York, they all want it." Malik's eyes widened. "That was just a concept, Sarah. Sketches on a napkin." "It's a revolution," she corrected, "and I can't build it without the lead architect." Shas snapped her fingers. One of the bodyguards stepped forward with a sleek black briefcase. He opened it. Inside were documents and a black American Express Centurion card. "I tried to call," Serafina said, "but your number was disconnected." "Hard times," Malik admitted, shame coloring his cheeks. "Not anymore," she said. She turned to the room, her voice projecting like a queen addressing her subjects. "Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the interruption, but I am currently standing in the presence of the most brilliant structural genius of our generation and my new partner." She turned back to Malik, her eyes sparkling. "My car is outside. The jet is fueled. I need you in Tokyo by tonight. Bring the girl. We have a nursery on the plane." Malik looked at Vanessa. She looked like she was about to vomit. Derek looked like he was having a stroke. Malik stammered. "I came in my truck dot model." Serafina laughed, a musical sound. "Leave it. I'll have it bronzed and put in the lobby of our new headquarters." She held out her hand. "Coming?" The silence in the grand hall of St. Jude's Academy was heavy, the kind of silence that usually precedes a thunderclap. Every eye was fixed on the tableau, the billionaire, the soaked black single dad, and the stunned ex-wife. Vanessa was the first to break the paralysis. Her mind, honed by years of social climbing and calculated maneuvers, spun wildly. She looked at Malik, really looked at him, and saw the reflection of Serafina Sterling's admiration. In seconds, the rusty truck and the wetsuit didn't matter. What mattered was proximity to power. She stepped forward, a forced, trembling smile plastered onto her face. She reached out, attempting to touch Nia's shoulder, effectively blocking Malik's path to Serafina. "Well," Vanessa laughed, the sound brittle and high-pitched. "This is unexpected. Malik, why didn't you tell me you were consulting for Miss Sterling?" "We could have prepared better." She looked up at Serafina, batting her eyelashes. "Miss Sterling, I'm Vanessa, Malik's partner. We co-parent. We're very close. If Malik is going to Tokyo, naturally, as Nia's mother, I should." "You should what?" Serafina interrupted. Her voice wasn't loud, but it cut through the air like a diamond cutter. She didn't look at Vanessa, she looked through her. "I should, coordinate," Vanessa stammered, her confidence eroding under Serafina's gaze. "Nia needs her mother, and if Malik is going to be working on such a prestigious project, he'll need support. Derek and I." "Derek," Serafina said, testing the name as if it were a sour grape. She glanced over at the man in the Italian suit who was currently trying to make himself invisible behind a display of robotic arms. The man who just publicly mocked the father of this child. The man who called my lead architect a digger of holes. Derek choked. "Miss Sterling, it was a joke, a misunderstanding, banter between old friends." "We are not friends," Malik said. His voice was rough, unused to commanding a room, but steady. He looked at Vanessa. "And we are not partners, Vanessa. You made that very clear when you served me divorce papers on my birthday." The crowd murmured. The gossip mill was already churning. Vanessa's face flushed a deep crimson. She switched tactics, her eyes narrowing into slits. "Malik, be reasonable. You can't just take Nia to a foreign country. That's kidnapping. I have custody rights. I'll call the police. Right now." She pulled out her phone, brandishing it like a weapon. "You step 1 foot out of this hall with her, and I will have you arrested." Malik froze. The fear of losing Nia was the one thing that could paralyze him. As a black man, he'd learned a long time ago that one accusation in the wrong place could cost him everything. He looked at Serafina, panic rising in his chest. "Sarah, she's right. The custody agreement, it's 60-40. I can't leave the state without her permission." Serafina didn't flinch. She simply held out her hand to the bodyguard with the briefcase. He handed her a thin, cream-colored file. "Vanessa," Serafina said, her tone conversational, almost bored. "Do you know who represents Sterling Industries in family law matters?" Vanessa blinked. No. "The firm is Blackwood, Hale, and Calloway," Serafina said. "Specifically, Arthur Blackwood himself. Does the name ring a bell?" Derek audibly gasped. Arthur Blackwood was the kind of lawyer you didn't hire to win a case. You hired him to destroy the other side's bloodline. He was a legal shark who ate hedge fund managers for breakfast. "I had my team look into your current custody arrangement while my plane was taxiing," Serafina continued, opening the file. "It seems you petitioned for full custody last month based on Malik's financial instability. You claimed he couldn't provide a suitable environment." "He lives in a one-bedroom apartment above a garage," Vanessa shouted, trying to rally the crowd to her side. "He drives a death trap. Of course he's unstable." "Not anymore," Serafina said calmly. She pulled a document from the folder. "As of this morning, Malik Carter has been retained as the Chief Design Officer for the Sterling Skyline Initiative. His signing bonus alone, which was wired to his new account 5 minutes ago, is $2 million. His annual salary is 4 times that." The room went dead silent again. $2 million. Malik felt his knees go weak. He looked at Serafina, stunned. She gave him a subtle wink. "Furthermore," Serafina continued, turning a page, "my investigators found some interesting discrepancies in Mr. Derek Sterling's finances. It seems the trust fund he uses to pay for your lifestyle is actually a leveraged line of credit that is currently, 90 days past due." Derek's face went white. He lunged forward. "That's private information. You can't." The bodyguard stepped in, a wall of muscle blocking Derek's path. "And," Serafina added, delivering the final blow, "there's the matter of the texts you sent Malik, harassing texts, threatening to withhold visitation unless he paid for things outside the court order. That's coercion. Arthur Blackwood is filing a motion for emergency modification of custody as we speak, citing your emotional abuse and financial instability, since clearly Derek is broke." Vanessa stood there, mouth agape, her entire world crumbling in less than 3 minutes. The other parents were whispering, pointing, some even snickering. The veil of her perfection had been ripped away. "Now," Serafina said, closing the file with a snap, "Malik acts as Nia's primary guardian during this business trip. You can contest it in court, but I suggest you save your money for a bankruptcy lawyer." She turned to Malik, her face softening instantly. "Shall we?" Malik looked at Vanessa one last time. He didn't feel triumph. He didn't feel the need to gloat. He just felt free. "Goodbye, Vanessa," he said. He picked up the balsa wood bridge with one arm and held Nia's hand with the other. "Come on, Nia, we're going for a ride." They walked out of the grand hall, the crowd parting for them with a mixture of awe and reverence. As they stepped out into the rain, the weather hadn't changed, but everything else had. A waiting valet held a massive umbrella over them as they approached the Rolls-Royce Phantom. "Daddy, it's a spaceship!" Nia squealed as she scrambled inside. Malik handed the bridge to a bodyguard who treated it like a Ming vase, placing it gently in the front seat. Malik slid into the back next to Nia. Serafina got in on the other side. The door closed, sealing out the noise of the rain, the school, and the past 2 years of misery. The silence inside the car was heavy but luxurious. As the car pulled away, leaving the rusted Ford F-150 behind, Malik slumped back against the seat, the adrenaline crashing out of his system. He put his head in his hands. "Breathe, Malik." Serafina's voice came from the darkness of the cabin. He looked up. Her professional mask was gone. She looked tired too, but her eyes were warm. "You really wired me $2 million?" he asked, his voice hoarse. "I did," she said. "I would have paid 10 times that. You have no idea how hard it is to find someone who doesn't just want me for my money, Malik. I need my architect. I need the guy who helped me pass structural dynamics 4001 when I was crying in the library." Malik smiled, a genuine memory surfacing through the trauma. "You weren't crying. You were throwing textbooks at the wall." "Details," she smirked. "But seriously, I didn't do this just to show up your ex-wife. That was a bonus. I'm in trouble, Malik, and you're the only one who can fix it." The drive to O'Hare International Airport was a blur of city lights and confused emotions. Nia had fallen asleep almost immediately, exhausted by the excitement, her head resting on the plush armrest, a blanket of cashmere tucked around her by Serafina herself. Malik watched the city roll by, the skyline he used to dream of adding to. "You said you're in trouble," Malik said, keeping his voice low to avoid waking Nia. "Sterling Industries is the biggest developer on the planet. What kind of trouble could you possibly be in?" Serafina sighed, reaching for a crystal decanter of water. She poured 2 glasses and handed one to him. Her hand brushed his, and a spark of electricity, old, familiar, and dangerous, jumped between them. "Corporate espionage," she said, her face darkening. "Serious level. Someone isn't just stealing money, they're stealing ideas. My ideas. Our ideas." "Our ideas?" Malik frowned. "Do you remember the thesis project?" she asked. "The one we worked on senior year, the Living Spire?" Malik nodded slowly. It was a vague memory overshadowed by the reality of mortgages and diaper changes that had followed shortly after graduation. "The Eco Tower, self-sustaining vertical forests. It was a pipe dream, Sarah. The technology didn't exist." "It exists now," she said intensely. "I've spent the last 5 years developing the materials, the smart glass, the algae filtration systems. We're ready to break ground in Tokyo. It's going to change how humanity lives in dense cities. It's my legacy, Malik." "Okay," Malik said, impressed. "So build it. You have the money." "I have the money," she agreed, "but I don't have the blueprints. Not the final ones. The core structural algorithm, the math that keeps the tower from twisting in the wind, the math you wrote, was corrupted on our servers 3 days ago." Malik sat up straighter. "Corrupted? How?" "Inside job," she whispered. "Someone wiped the primary drive and the backups. And then yesterday a competitor, Apex Global, announced a press conference for next week. They claim to have a revolutionary new design. I've seen the teasers. It's the Spire, Malik. It's our building." "They stole it," Malik said, indignation rising. "So sue them." "I can't," she said, frustration leaking into her voice. "I can't prove it's mine. The digital files are gone. The physical backups were destroyed in an accidental fire at our archive facility last month. I have nothing. No proof that Sterling Industries designed it." She turned to him, her eyes pleading. "Except you." Malik looked at her, confused. "Me? I haven't seen those plans in 10 years. "You don't need the plans," Serafina said, leaning closer. "You have the notebook." Malik froze. The notebook. It was a tattered black moleskin he had carried everywhere during his final year of university. It was where he sketched, where he did his math, where he wrote down the erratic, brilliant bursts of inspiration that eventually became the Living Spire. "I might," Malik stammered. "I kept a box of old stuff. When we lost the house, I put most of it in storage, but I kept one box in the truck under the seat." Serafina's eyes widened. "In the truck?" "The truck we just left at the school." "Yeah." "Driver!" Serafina shouted, pressing the intercom button. "Turn around now." "No, wait," Malik said, grabbing her wrist. "Vanessa, if she sees us coming back, she'll know something is up. And if she sees me digging for a specific box, she'll take it just to spite me. She's petty, Sarah. If she thinks it's valuable, she'll burn it." Serafina slumped back. "You're right. We can't risk alerting them. If Apex Global finds out the physical proof exists, they'll come for it." "Who runs Apex?" Malik asked. "Julian Thorne." Serafina spat the name. "A shark." Malik's mind raced. The truck was parked on a public street now, or maybe towed. Vanessa was likely still there, fuming. "I have a spare key," Malik said, patting his pocket. "But we need to be invisible." Serafina pressed a button on the console, and a compartment opened, revealing 2 sleek black smartphones. She picked one up. "Plan B," she said. "I have a security team trailing us. I'll have them secure the truck, tow it to a secure facility. We don't stop. We go to Tokyo. We need to be seen leaving the country so Thorne thinks he's won. If he thinks I'm fleeing, he'll get careless." "But the notebook." "My team will bring it to us," she said, "once we're in the air. Right now, the safest place for you and Nia is 40,000 feet up." The car turned onto the tarmac. The private jet sat waiting, a massive Gulfstream G700, gleaming white under the floodlights. It looked like a bird of prey, ready to strike. As the car stopped, Malik looked at his sleeping daughter. Then he looked at Serafina. "Why didn't you call me sooner?" he asked softly. "Before the crisis?" Serafina looked away, staring out the rain-streaked window. For the first time, she looked vulnerable. "Because I saw the wedding photos, Malik," she whispered. 10 years ago, you looked happy. I was building an empire, and you were building a family. I didn't want to be the wrecking ball." Malik felt a pang in his chest. "I wasn't happy," he admitted. "I was content. There's a difference. And then I wasn't even that." "Well," Serafina said, turning back to him with a sad smile now, "we're both a mess, but we're a mess with a jet." The door opened. Cold wind rushed in. "Let's go save my company, Malik." Meanwhile, back at St. Jude's Academy, the rain had stopped, leaving the parking lot slick and dark. The last of the parents were driving away. Vanessa stood by the curb, her white coat mud-splattered. She was shivering, not from cold, but from rage. Derek was on the phone, screaming at his bank, trying to understand why his cards were declined. "Shut up, Derek," Vanessa snapped. "They froze it, Ness. All of it. The SEC is flagging my accounts." She wasn't joking. She actually called the feds. Vanessa ignored him. She stared at Malik's rusted Ford F-150, which was still parked alone under a flickering street lamp. "He left it," she muttered. "He just left it." She walked over to the truck. She hated this thing. It represented everything that had gone wrong in her life. She kicked the tire. Something caught her eye. In the back window, partially covered by a dirty flannel shirt, was a box. It was an old banker's box labeled MC Uni Ideas. Vanessa knew Malik. She knew he was sentimental. If he was going to run off with a billionaire, why leave his precious memories unless he forgot them? A dark thought crossed her mind. A thought that could be leverage. "Derek," she called out, "get the tire iron from your trunk." "What? Why?" Because, Vanessa smiled, a cruel, twisted expression. Malik cares about trash. And if he cares about it, I want it. Maybe there's something in there I can use to embarrass him. Or maybe there's something in there that woman wants. Derek hurried over with the tire iron. He smashed the passenger side window. The glass shattered with a loud crash. Vanessa reached in, unlocking the door. She shoved the flannel shirt aside and dragged the heavy box out onto the wet pavement. She ripped the lid off. Inside were old drafting tools, a coffee mug, and a stack of sketchbooks. She picked up a black moleskin notebook. It was worn, the elastic band stretched out. She flipped it open. It was full of gibberish, numbers, equations, sketches of a twisting tower. "Garbage," she spat, tossing it back into the box, just like him. Suddenly, a black SUV screeched into the parking lot, high beams blinding them. "Hey!" Derek shouted, shielding his eyes. "Watch it!" Two men in tactical gear jumped out of the SUV. They weren't police, and they weren't Sterling security. One of them pointed a taser at Derek. "Drop the box." Vanessa clutched the box to her chest. "Who are you?" "We're the competition," the man said, his voice distorted by a mask. "And we'll take that notebook now." Vanessa looked at the man, then at the notebook she had just called garbage. Her survival instinct kicked in. This wasn't trash. This was valuable. "Make me an offer," she said. Derek looked at her like she was insane. "Vanessa, give them the damn box." "Shut up," she hissed. She looked at the masked man. "You want the book?" "That means Serafina wants the book. How much is it worth to you?" The man lowered the taser. He chuckled. "I think we can work something out." The Gulfstream G700 cut through the stratosphere like a silver needle, leaving the chaos of Chicago far behind. Inside the cabin was a sanctuary of cream leather and walnut wood, illuminated by soft amber mood lighting. Malik sat across from Serafina, a glass of 1942 Don Julio tequila untouched in front of him. He watched Nia sleeping soundly on the converted divan, clutching a stuffed bear Serafina's flight attendant had magically produced. "She's resilient," Serafina said softly, noticing his gaze. "She takes after her father." Malik scoffed, running a hand over his close-cropped hair. He had showered in the plane's bathroom and changed into a set of clothes Serafina kept on board for guests. Cashmere joggers and a fitted Henley. He looked like a different man. A framed photo of a smiling black family would not have looked out of place in this cabin now, but he didn't feel like the man in that kind of picture yet. "Resilient. Sarah, I've been barely treading water for 2 years. I let my ex-wife bully me because I was afraid of losing the little time I had with my daughter. That's not resilience. That's cowardice." "It's sacrifice," Serafina corrected him firmly. She kicked off her heels and curled her legs under her, shedding the CEO persona for a moment. You took the hits to keep Naya's world stable. That's what good fathers do. My father? Well, you know how he was. He would have burned the school down if a teacher looked at him wrong. He taught me to win, but he never taught me how to care. You seem to care just fine, Malik said, gesturing to the blanket tucked around Naya. I'm trying, she admitted. But this world, it hardens you. I'm surrounded by sharks, Malik. People like Derek, but with billions of dollars and better lawyers. They don't want to build things. They want to strip mine companies for parts. She took a sip of her drink, her eyes locking onto his. That's why I needed you. The Living Spire project, it's not just a building, it's a statement. It proves that Sterling Industries is still about innovation, not just acquisition. If Julian Thorne steals it, if Apex Global unveils my design as their own, the stock will plummet. The board will vote no confidence. I could lose the company my grandfather built. Malik leaned forward, the gravity of the situation sinking in. Thorne, I remember reading about him. He made his fortune in hostile takeovers, right? He's a predator, Serafina confirmed. And he hates me. He thinks a woman running a conglomerate is a cute experiment that has gone on too long. Stealing the Spire is his way of putting me back in my place. Suddenly, the satellite phone on the table buzzed. It was a harsh, jarring sound in the quiet cabin. Serafina picked it up. Sterling! Malik watched her face. Within seconds, the warmth drained from her expression, replaced by a terrifying stillness. Her knuckles turned white as she gripped the phone. I understand, she said, her voice ice cold. Who was it? Are you sure? Send me the footage. She hung up and set the phone down with deliberate slowness. What? Malik asked, his heart hammering. Is it the truck? Did they tow it? They didn't tow it, Serafina said, looking at him with pained eyes. My security team arrived 12 minutes after we left. The truck had been broken into. Malik stood up. The box, the notebook, gone, Serafina said. But it wasn't a random smash and grab. They took only the box, and they have dash cam footage from the team's arrival. She tapped her tablet, bringing up a grainy video file sent by her security chief. She spun the tablet around so Malik could see. The footage showed the rain-slicked parking lot of St. Jude. It showed a black SUV peeling out, and standing there, illuminated by the headlights, was Vanessa. She was holding the banker's box. Beside her, Derek was looking nervous. But Vanessa was smiling. She was on the phone. Malik felt sick. She took it. She didn't just take it, Serafina said, swiping to the next image, a still frame of a text message intercept. My cybersecurity team flagged a communication. Vanessa contacted Apex Global's regional office 10 minutes ago. She's not holding it for ransom, Malik. She's selling it. Malik sank back onto the seat, burying his face in his hands. She sold us out. She sold me out. She thinks she hit the jackpot, Serafina said, her voice dripping with venom. She has the physical proof of the design. If she hands that notebook to Julian Thorne, he can claim he bought the IP from the original creator. Since you didn't patent it back in university, it's a legal gray area. With his lawyers, he can bury us. We have to stop her, Malik said. Call the police. She stole my property. It's a civil matter. Serafina shook her head. By the time the police file a report, the notebook will be in a shredder, and the scans will be on an Apex server. No, we can't play defense anymore. She hit a button on the intercom. Pilot, increase speed. I want us in Tokyo an hour ahead of schedule, and get me Silas on the line. She turned back to Malik. The sadness was gone. The Iron Queen of the business world was back. Vanessa is flying commercial to Tokyo. Thorne is flying her out to be the guest of honor at his gala. He wants to parade her around, the wife of the disgraced architect, testifying that the idea belonged to Apex all along. She wouldn't lie under oath, Malik said weakly, though he didn't believe it. For the amount of money Thorne is likely offering her, she'd say the sky is green, Serafina countered. She's coming to the Lion's Den, Malik, so we're going to be there to welcome her. How? Malik asked. We don't have the book. Serafina reached across the table and took his hand. Her grip was firm, electric. You have something better, she said intensely. You have the mind that wrote the book. You're going to rewrite the code, Malik, in real time, before the gala starts. That code took me 6 months to write. Then you better start drinking coffee, Serafina said, signaling the flight attendant, because we land in 12 hours. Tokyo was a kaleidoscope of neon rain as the Rolls-Royce cut through the city, delivering them to the Sterling Tower, a massive monolith of glass and steel piercing the Shinjuku clouds. Inside the penthouse suite, Malik kissed a sleepy Nia goodbye as she was whisked away by Yumi, the head of the household staff. He couldn't rest. He had work to do. Serafina led him immediately to the 50th floor, the war room. It was a command center wrapped in screens, displaying stock tickers and architectural renderings. Silas, her head of security, stepped forward with a grim expression. Thorn is moving fast, Silas reported. The Apex Gala is tomorrow night at the Imperial Hotel. They're calling the building the Apex Helix, and we have confirmation on the asset. A surveillance photo appeared on the main screen. It showed Vanessa in the lobby of the Imperial Hotel, handing the stolen black moleskin notebook to Julian Thorn. He has the physical book, Serafina said, her voice tight. If his engineers scan those pages, they can reverse engineer the math. It might take days, but once they launch, public perception will be that they own it. Then we crash the party, Serafina declared. I'm invited. Thorn sent an invite just to spite me. He wants me to watch him steal my legacy. Sarah, I'm a landscaper in a borrowed suit, Malik argued. Thorn will eat me alive. You are the lead architect, Serafina said, grabbing his shoulders. And you are the only man in the world who knows the secret of that tower. She pointed to the rotating digital model on the screen. You told me once you put a ghost in the machine. Malik stared at the wireframe. A slow, dangerous smile spread across his face. The keystone, he whispered. In the notebook on page 42, I fudged a decimal point intentionally. It was a copyright trap. If you build the tower exactly as drawn in that book, the structure becomes unstable at wind speeds over 60 mph. It would collapse. Serafina's eyes widened. You sabotaged your own blueprints. I protected them, Malik corrected. He grabbed a stylus and rushed to the smartboard, slashing a line through the displayed equation and writing a new constant. This is the real math, the keystone algorithm. Serafina looked at the board, then at Malik. So Thorn is about to present a building to the world's investors that is a structural death trap, and he's using your stolen notebook to prove it works. Exactly. Get a stylist, Serafina ordered her team. We need to look like $1 billion. The night of the gala, the Imperial Hotel ballroom was dripping in gold and crystal. At the center of the stage stood Julian Thorn, basking in the applause of Japanese dignitaries and tech moguls. Tonight, Thorn boomed into the microphone, Apex Global redefines the skyline. In the VIP section, Vanessa sat sipping champagne wearing a diamond necklace Thorn had loaned her. She felt like she had finally won. Suddenly, a hush fell over the room. Serafina Sterling and Malik Carter had arrived. Malik was no longer the man in the wet raincoat. Wearing a bespoke tuxedo, he radiated a quiet, lethal confidence. They walked arm in arm straight to the stage. Miss Sterling, Thorn faltered. And your landscaper? He's the architect, Julian, Serafina announced, her voice cutting through the room. The man whose work you stole. Slander! Thorn snapped. I have the original design journals. He pointed to Vanessa. You have a draft, Malik said calmly, stepping onto the stage. A flawed draft. That building will fall down in a stiff breeze. Liar! Security. Test it, Serafina challenged. Run the simulation right now on the big screen. Input the variables from the notebook exactly as they are. Cornered by his own ego, Thorn ordered his team to run the test. The massive screen lit up. The simulation began to apply wind pressure to the digital tower. Wind speed 40 mph, stable. Wind speed 60 MPa, red warning lights flashed. Critical failure. The virtual tower twisted violently and shattered into digital debris. The ballroom gasped. Oops, Malik said into the microphone. I guess you should have checked the math. Serafina signaled her own team. The screen refreshed, this time with Malik's keystone algorithm applied. Wind speed 150 mph, stable. The crowd erupted. Thorn looked at the screen, then at the notebook, and finally at Vanessa with murderous eyes. You, Thorn hissed. You sold me garbage. I didn't know, Vanessa stammered. No, Vanessa, Malik said, turning his back on her. You tricked yourself. He took Serafina's hand. Let's go. We have a building to build. The fallout in the Imperial Hotel ballroom was immediate and catastrophic. As the digital debris of the Apex Helix faded from the giant screen, Julian Thorne's net worth plummeted in real time. Investors were already screaming into their phones, dumping Apex stock before the gala had even ended. Thorne, his face a mask of purple rage, turned on the only target within reach. "You!" he snarled at Vanessa, who stood trembling on the edge of the stage. "Get out. You're done. You sold me defective intellectual property." "But the consulting fee," Vanessa stammered, tears streaking her mascara. "You promised." "I promised payment for a building that stands up," Thorne spat. He signaled his security. "Escort Miss Carter out and take back the necklace." Humiliated, stripped of her borrowed diamonds in front of the flashing cameras, Vanessa looked desperately for a lifeline. She spotted Malik and Serafina near the exit, the center of a whirlwind of admiration. "Malik," she cried, pushing past a waiter. She looked small and frantic. "Malik, please, they're kicking me out. I don't have a ticket home. For Nia's sake, let me fly on the jet." Malik stopped. He turned slowly, looking at the woman who had once defined his worth by his bank account. He felt no anger, only a distant pity. "For Nia's sake," Malik said calmly, "I bought you a ticket. It's at the concierge." He pulled a crumpled receipt from his pocket and handed it to her. "Economy, one way." "Economy?" Vanessa gasped, clutching the paper as if it were an insult. "Be grateful," Serafina interjected, her voice sharp. "My legal team wanted to leave you here to explain your corporate theft to the Japanese police." Malik chose mercy. They turned their backs on her, walking out into the Tokyo night, leaving Vanessa standing alone in the ruins of her own ambition. 6 months later, the Chicago skyline had a new crown jewel. The Sterling Spire was rising faster than any skyscraper in history, a twisting marvel of glass and vertical gardens. Malik stood on the 80th floor, the wind whipping his tie. He wasn't just a landscaper anymore. He was the celebrated chief architect of Sterling Industries, the black kid who once sketched in a beat-up notebook and got laughed at for dreaming too big, now literally reshaping the sky. He signed off on the day's progress and took the elevator down to the street, where a familiar black Rolls-Royce was waiting. Serafina rolled down the window, grinning. "Get in, man of the year. We're late for your award ceremony." Malik slid into the leather seat, kissing her hand. "I still say the award belongs to the team." "Take the compliment, Malik," she laughed. As the car glided through the city, traffic slowed near a bus stop. Malik glanced out the window. Sitting on a bench, wearing a faded beige waitress uniform and looking exhausted, was Vanessa. She was reading a discarded newspaper, looking older and harder. The glamour was gone. Only the grind remained. "Do you want to stop?" Serafina asked softly, following his gaze. Malik looked at his ex-wife, then at the woman who had believed in him when he had nothing. He thought of Nia, happy and safe in their new life. "No," Malik said, turning away from the window. "Keep driving." That night, under this glow of the city lights, Malik didn't just accept an award. He led Serafina to the rooftop terrace overlooking the lake. With the completed spire twinkling in the distance, he dropped to one knee. "You found me in the rust," Malik whispered, opening a box to reveal a ring designed with the same structural elegance as their tower. "Let's build a life. Marry me." Serafina Sterling, the Iron Queen of business, dropped to her knees beside him, tears in her eyes. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." Malik held her close as fireworks erupted over Navy Pier. He had lost everything to find the only thing that mattered. The foundation was finally solid. And that is the story of Malik Carter, a man who was pushed to the edge, mocked for his struggles, and left in the rain, only to realize that the rain was just washing away the past to make room for a golden future. It's a reminder to all of us. Your current situation is not your final destination. People like Vanessa and Derek might laugh at you when you're down, but they don't see the blueprint of your potential. Stay true to your craft. Keep building your bridges, even if they're just made of popsicle sticks for now, and never let the world convince you that you're worthless, whether you're a black single dad in a rusty truck or a kid with a wild idea in a battered notebook, because you never know when your Rolls-Royce moment is coming around the corner. If you enjoyed this story of justice, romance, and sweet revenge, please destroy that like button. It really helps the channel. Don't forget to share this video with someone who needs a reminder to never give up, and subscribe with notifications on so you never miss a story. I'll see you in the next one. Keep building.